We have two quick flute technique questions.
Mhm.
Uh, I have a number of students who've played in master classes with you, after they have left Boston Flute Academy, and they've told me about the wasabi analogy that you have for opening up here in between the eyes, and we thought it would be nice to hear your right straight from you, your concept there for producing the sound with more open head.
Yeah, uh, I get reminded of that every now and then. Yeah, I had forgotten about that one. 'Cause you see, I don't teach so often. I just have this. We just have these one or two students in the academy in the orchestra. That's all I have time to deal with on a month by month basis. Because I'm not more often than that there. But actually, they're coached by the entire flute section of the Berlin Philharmonic. So just to say that pedagogic activity is not my. Is not something I do professionally, so to say. So therefore, I found that this idea, I saw that everybody was eating sushi back in the late 90s or early 2000, and that so I had the idea that in order to open up all the volumes here, if you eat too much wasabi, suddenly you can feel it's burning somewhere up in your nose and nearly somewhere up here and in between the eyes in a way. So this feeling that to focus there, to focus the airstream over there and keep it open yet focused in the same time is something that I find very important in order to keep pitch, airspeed in whatever kind of dynamic you're playing. So whether you're playing going to the extremes where we have a tendency to lose control or to exaggerate the motion of the lips for the pianissimo or the fortissimo control in the very low or the very high notes. This wasabi point, as we just referred to it, is something that helps you keep the focus in your mind on the airstream rather than on the lips, and therefore keep the airstream at a certain speed. Because if you lose the speed and the support in the piano, you will lose the intonation. The pitch will go down. The slow air is going to be flat in terms of intonation. Fast air is going to be too sharp in terms of intonation. High pressure is going to be the third octave. Low pressure is going to be the first octave. Middle pressure is going to be the second octave. So you see the concepts of air speed or air pressure don't have the same implications. The volume of air, that's loud or soft, for example. So you see, the pressure is, of course, a combination of the airspeed and the air volume. So it's going to be different the way how you drive it in the lower octave and in the higher octave. That's all the problem of flute playing, actually, is how do we achieve continuous, homogeneous sound throughout the range of the flute. It doesn't mean that we have to bang the low notes and to play everything subtly and very delicate in the high octave. No, naturally, the tendency of the instrument is the opposite, to play rather weak in the low notes and overpowerful in the high notes because of the natural thing about the pressure for the high notes and the low pressure for the low notes. But if we think of these different aspects, yet always focusing when we get in the when we're about to lose tone control or the pitch control, for example, we think of this wasabi point. I find it puts things back into place again. And usually the thing is that we focus too much on the lips. We squeeze too much the lips and the air is not flowing enough through the lips in that moment. That's what my observation in most of the situations, and why I have been referring to this as a wasabi point.
And our last one is about embouchure and internal changes for tone colors. Anything briefly to say? I know that's a big question.
Yeah, well, it's a huge question because it's something that you can experiment for yourself in any kind of music studio or acoustics. Is how to project the sound and think, okay, once you have taken a breath, first of all, you need to take a deep breath before you start playing a piece. Add 1 bar or 2 bars if it's a very fast tempo. Breathe already with the feeling of the tempo, so that then the first note will be already in a time frame, will be synchronized and not just happening by chance, you know. But because you already have this thing, you're already putting things into place in your mind while you're taking this very first breath. And really a deep breath, then you have so much air in your lungs that you don't need to push the air out because it's coming out anyway. You have an overpressure of air in your lungs. You're filled with air, so it just wants to go out. You just have to control how much is coming out, which is a lot less effort than squeeze the air out of your lungs, actually. This is only happening, should be only be happening at the end of the breath. When you're running out of air, then you should be able to expel, to push with your muscles the air out of the lungs that's still in the lungs in order to finish the phrase. But we don't want to get there too early. So big breath before you start, adding 1 or 2 bars, and then only take small breaths in between during the phrasing. I heard Rampal do this. I heard Galway do this. Always taking small breath hidden in the musical phrase, and in a way that you wouldn't be able to notice them. I find this most effective. Now for the colors, once you have taken this breath properly, you can think of expelling the air through the wasabi point, as I was saying before, but you can also focus a little bit lower in a more nasal sound like this. Or you can focus and think you do like Shrek and you send the air through the ears in something that's so much bigger than us. Or you think maybe that there's an airstream, like something suspended on top of your head, and you're sending the air this way or behind in your back like this, for example, or in the back of your neck. I try to think in very different positions. Where am I sending the air? Not just here through the lips, but rather in very different places of my head. And this way you start noticing, aha, when I send the air, thinking different vowels, because you shape your mouth or your head in different ways. At that moment, you project the sound in different directions. So if you go to the left, if you go to the right, if you go to the front, if you go to the back, if you go up, down, etc., you learn how to do a 360 degrees kind of sound driving thing. But for this, you really have to experiment for yourself, each of us, because first of all, it's different on every flute. We are all different people of different morphology. If we have the right posture and we breathe properly, we should be able to experiment. But we should really first, this thing with the posture is really very important. And the other thing with the breathing before we start playing is also extremely important, because those are prerequisite conditions in order to be able to deliver the best on the flute while playing the flute.